Web page, and we put that information out at the time that we announced that the program is scheduled for the year.
But that's not handled by us.
No,
We just
not at
link
all.
to the agency.
Last year, is there a way that we could, do we know when they're gonna strike? Or?
They let us know in advance, it's not as in advance as we would like.
We always ask.
If we can kind of send out, not a code red, but some sort of social media or whatever.
We try.
And that will include the information about how to opt out.
I'm just really curious, maybe this is more anecdotally, but we do hear when this spraying happens, do we have any idea how effective this truly is?
There is a lot of scientific data available through that website. I couldn't begin, I am not a chemist, I couldn't begin to try to interpret it. But there is a lot of information on that website.
But those folks that do this spraying, they have some type of mechanism to evaluate how effective the system is. I think it's done by a count of actual mosquitoes.
And it's done by the state of Maryland, so they've done tests over the years, they know what they're doing when they're doing this.
I mean, this is consistently what happens is this is an item that can be actioned at the staff level, doesn't always come before the mayor and council. But Mary and I were talking through, every year we receive feedback from the citizens about, hey, look, we like the program, we don't like the program. So then we felt it was best to bring it before the group for consideration and the public for their feedback before we act. I know it's something that's short, but it was done for a very, very long time, ever since I was a little kid. So, it's up. Oh, yes. Just if you don't mind, we know each other's name and street names for the record.
I'm Edward Hammond on Main Street. It's a simple observation. If the town did a better job on stormwater, runoff, and water management, there would be fewer mosquitoes to have to spray for.
I'm a big fan of
Just
Dead
name and street.
Oh, I'm sorry, Gina Lalong, Intrepid Lane. Big fan of Dead Mosquitoes. The only thing I've noticed is that the last few years that they've done it, the guys that used to come through kind of slow, and you could really watch that fog just penetrate and kill all those little suckers. Now they come through like 1,000 miles an hour. You're literally watching the cloud get sucked right back underneath their car. So the only dead mosquitoes there are down the center of the things. And maybe is there a way to reach out to them and say, hey, can you slow it down? I'm a fan. Poison us. I don't care. Kill the mosquitoes. Like, total fan.
Maybe we'll leave the rest of it out. We might pass along the observation, but maybe slow it down. So.
Yeah. Is there, you can like email them or something? Because it is effective when it's applied properly.
Any other public comment regarding motion 2026-18? Okay, seeing none, we'll take action by the council.
I'll make a motion to approve 2026-18.
So a motion by Councilmember Orris, a second by Councilmember Nichols.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, let the record reflect the vote unanimous. Motion 2026-18 passes.
There's actually also speaking on the live stream, have to partner with the live stream, and it's hard to hear you. There's only one microphone, so I don't know.
You want to hand it, you're on
I
try.
don't even know that that's on.
It is.
I'll give it a try. I can't promise.
It was turned off.
It was turned off. It should work. Maybe it's,
Test.
that's good.
All right.
And we can
I'll try my
pass
best.
it back to community members.
Up next, agenda item 3C, motion 2026-19, reconciliation of funds to Stephen Decatur Park playground equipment, and our Public Works Director, Jimmy Charles, is going to run for it. Jimmy,
Thank you, Mayor.
here.
We can hear
So after the storm in February, we had significant damage to the playground structure itself. And this structure, you can't just go buy a new bolt from Home Depot and repair. It has to be all original manufactured equipment to keep the warranties up through the playground system. And so, and it matched damages we had to do a full repair of what we had. Kelsey, would you like to talk about the insurance part of it?
Yeah, so years ago, I guess, it predates me, the Stephen Decatur Park equipment
was not insured for equipment only liability. So when this damage occurred, we found out that it was asked to be removed from insurance years ago. Again, it's been I've been with the town 10 years, so at least 10 years that it's not been in there. So now Jimmy and I are working to see if we can get those pieces of equipment back in the insurance, especially as we're starting to update a lot of those. So yeah, there was no coverage for it, so unfortunately.
Terry, you got a new
I'm gonna get my
job?
steps in tonight.
So with that, we were hoping to reallocate some money from the fence to get the playground up and running, so we have the kids back in the playground, playing safely.
To clarify, that would be the fence at Henry Park with the intention of putting it back into the budget for FY '27.
And for our draft budget, it is in there as well. It's not going anywhere, it's just moving it for the priority.
Pushing it easier.
All right, so,
Jimmy, how long will it take to get this up?
We have an estimate, from my understanding, playground game time, they'll be within a couple weeks of getting it in, starting the repair, or starting the replacement.
thank you.
So when it comes to the fence, that we're talking about, reallocating the funds for, that fence, what condition is it in right now?
It is in fair condition.
Is it fair enough for this fence to maintain for another fiscal year?
So we will reallocate funds and it'll be re-put in, so July 1st, we could actually start to get the fence.
Okay.
It's really
replaced.
only pushing a few months.
A few months, got it,
So
okay.
yes, we're gonna push it.
Thank you, Jimmy, and Kelsey. All right, so anyone from the public that would like to provide feedback on motion 2026-19 may do so at this time. Seeing none, we'll take action by the council. I have a motion by Councilmember Morris,
Second.
a second by Councilmember Nichols. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, let the record reflect that motion 2026-19 passes unanimously with all council members present. Up next is agenda item 3D, motion 2026-20. This is an impact and general fee revision study. It's in our FY '26 budget. John, from Beacon, if you don't mind coming forward. So it has, I think, John Hickman from Beacon, who's the director of Beacon, and myself running the point. But I'm going to let John talk initially. Actually, let me set the stage. So the mayor and council adopted the FY '26 budget, knowing that our impact fees are behind the times. They're not fully capturing what should be captured in the form of cost. I'm sure for every person that can argue that, there's somebody that can argue on the other side of it. I'm looking at one probably in the big decent eyes. T-Burn. So with that, the big kicker is that if anybody asks the town to support the impact fee rate, it is our job to be able to provide that justification of the fee. The math was conducted at some point, we don't know when, to derive what the fees are today. However, we can't find the justification for that math. So with that being said, Miss Marie has the same expression that all of us had when we realized this. I'll use some different words, but we were all frustrated over the fact that we could not find the justification. So with that being said, the mayor and council put in a funding allocation for the FY '26 budget. We issued an RFP 2025-07. We had nobody respond, right? So with that being said, John and I have talked many times. I'm like, John, this would be a great project for the students and the folks over at Salisbury University. And they have put together a proposal. So we're going to hear that this evening. Let John go over that, and then we'll entertain any questions we may have. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, just to give a quick overview, the RFP was for two portions. One, you'll see portion A, portion B. Portion A is just the existing fee schedule and proposed adjustments to that. That's really the smaller of effort in this. The other portion of it is to look at potential schedule of impact fees for development within the town. And that really takes a lot more calculation, various iterations. So our proposal includes to complete both phases concurrently. A lot of the data collected will apply to both of them, but the price proposal was asked for in two portions. Our proposal is to complete it. We also have a longer timeline than what was in the RFP. We think it's going to take probably about 5.5 months, and in there is also scheduling to be able to get feedback from you and come before you. After that, when it was ratified, to then write the documentation. So that could vary by 2 to 3 weeks, depending upon when we're ready to come before council with recommendations. So it could be, instead of 5.5 months, it could be a little over 6 months to complete the project. 3 phases. The first is really just data collection on fees, looking at the fees that you're currently charging, looking at what activities go along with those fees, looking at fees within comparable towns, both within Worcester County and in Maryland, to see what those fees are based on. The second on impact fees, looking at what those may apply to, look at what the underlying cost of those would be, and then that goes into the second phase. We also in there is collecting information from key individuals who you all would be within the survey collection, but also collecting from potential impacted parties on those fee collections. Phase 2 is then going through and doing some calculation, running a range of applications depending on how those fees may be applied. At the end of that, we come up with a draft report that would be circulated to you all for review, where you can say, well, this doesn't make sense, we don't want this fee, we'd rather, so those costs are covered either through the payment of a fee or through your general revenue. There may be things that you say, this is just going to be covered through our general revenue, it's a service that the town needs to provide. But you'll have the ability to look at those and make that decision of how you would want to do it. Phase 3 is then presenting that, getting your feedback, getting all the documentation that goes along with it, getting a schedule when you may want to do a review of those fees. In the impact fees, you can think of it like an enterprise fund. There would be some cost calculation. You track whether the cost is accurate, is the collection accurate. So that's a quick summary of the project.
We'll give it to council. Thank you, sir.
Thank you all, long time listener, first time calling. So if you look at page 46 of the packet in your bid worksheet, you have 2 parts, but then you mentioned 3. Is it just the general fee that you mentioned as third? That's just the B.
So the total part A and B.
The A and B is there's only 2.
Would be the entire package. We break down the things.
Okay,
If you said we only want to do part B, we would do a project that was just on your existing fee schedule. What would be a correct rate and how are those calculated? So it would be just that general fee schedule. The other, which is going to take a lot more data collection, projections. You don't have any existing basis for it, so we'd have to come to you and say, are these things that you would even want to include in those project expenses?
And how much do we have budgeted for these?
50,000.
So what happened, should we think of a plan here for the special conditions for these 6 months after care? Sure, but can I give it to Steve first and then?
I actually wanted the group to consider us not doing the general fee schedule review. I feel like the staff have done a great job over the last 2 to 3 years. We increased some license fees. We found that our the short-term rental was exorbitantly low. We did increase the business license fee, and I think the staff already basically did this to my satisfaction personally. as far as a review of the Eastern Shore municipalities like us. So coming off of a budget meeting a week ago where we have a deficit, I'm looking at every dollar, and I think that's one I would like the group to consider striking the $12,000 for the general fee schedule review, because I believe it's already been done.
Dr. Tier, the impact fee is definitely the big one.
So, just for clarification, special conditions, what's interesting about impact fees is that if somebody wants to challenge how much we're charging, they have the ability to do that, sometimes all the way up to the judicial level. And with that being said, there's a built-in calculation you'll see for travel time and also the hourly compensation for whoever has to come and support that testimony to support our charges. So the special considerations, I think, are designed to cover that portion of it, John.
For coming to defend, we will, as part of our package, general outlines, we need a letter written on what's the basis on this. If it comes to litigation, we specifically excluded that, because we have to know what the litigation was, where, what they're challenging, if, what's the range of the project. So we excluded that from our bid.
Okay. So the special consideration question that Councilmember Orris had, that's just if you have to come back and support something later down the road for the town of Berlin.
Which it reads is basically an hour a month. It says aftercare is for 6 months, which includes a total of 6 hours.
Yeah, and so that's our general rule. If you, again, you start enacting this, there's something that comes in, when you put it in your code, you need some revisions to it. If you need to come and present to the town, here's the new code, or to your, some of your boards, that would be included in that.
Thank you. So now, regarding Councilmember Green's comment about the general fee review, I think in many ways you're right, Councilmember Green. We do have a lot of the baseline information prepared. What I would be interested in knowing is, are there any additional fees as we look at revenue derivatives, right? And we're talking about the fact that, not in a form of trying to make money, but as Councilmember Green noted, we are each year looking at budget deficits when we start this process. So if we can be cognizant on the fact that we really want the users of said services to be covering some of those fees, there are certain things that are okay, this is what the town of Berlin would provide. But then if there are things that are really costing us money and being subsidized by other residents, is there a way that we can charge that out a little bit more effectively without having to raise the tax rate for everybody? So I would be interested in hearing that. I just don't know what the appetite of the group is. And then, Mary, you helped prepare the fee schedule. I don't know how you feel about the comfort level of that preparation. I know that we have teams doing a lot of different things, and that's not always our forte. So
I feel like the fees that we ended up with were in line. I usually have a big enough mouth.
From the diaphragm.
I think that the fees that we have covered are reasonable. We did a lot of comparison with other communities and looked at what they charge. Sometimes you're comparing Granny Smith apples to McIntosh, but we did get a pretty good sense of it. The impact fees truly are the really important thing that we need to get nailed down. The general fee schedule could be looked at another time if that seems to be a priority. But to your point, yes, it is very important that for people to understand that these fees are intended to be paid by the user of the service, not subsidized by the taxpayer in general.
I have a point to make. We had a work session.
hold on one second, if you don't mind. You get
You exercise today, girl.
I think you all need to also remember that 2 weeks ago we had a work session with the fire and EMS, and they have requested that we implement impact fees for fire and EMS protection. We currently don't have fees for that. So I did a little bit of research on it with Mr. Fitzgerald. He he said that the town of Pittsville and also Selbyville each had impact fees in their ordinances. I looked at the town of Pittsville's ordinance, schedule of ordinance isn't even on the internet, so I couldn't do that. But I did get Selbyville's ordinance, and it looks pretty interesting. We could probably, not reinvent the wheel and take what we like, that will be done.
Good way.
Dave, are those charged as separate fees?
They are.
There's a general impact fee and then one for fire and safety?
Yes. And it's the one I saw in Selbyville. It was
John,
specific to fire and
Yeah. My
Keep in
question,
mind Delaware may have different regulation than you have.
right, regarding impact fees, when you're analyzing costs, you take into account the future, the cost of the future expansion of the wastewater treatment plant, that kind of thing?
Well, I will say so. In the proposal, we were requested not to look at utilities. Those were the defining pieces, but I would consider probably the wastewater treatment plant in here.
I mean, that's a big part of development.
Utilities are to be captured through their connection fees, that are not through the general impact fees. That's how.
That's how I understood the RFP.
But, I mean, that's a valid point to the fact that there is a cost factor associated with annexations and things of that nature, new developments, when it comes to the utility side. But maybe once we have a better understanding of the general fund, then we can embark on the utilities. They'll be an animal in themselves. All right, can I have the mic? Thank you. All right. Thank you, Sarah.
I don't mind at all. I don't mind at all.
All right, so let's open it up to any public comment regarding motion 2026-20, and that's the impact fee revision study. I can walk too.
Maria Buell, West Street. So you're not giving impact fees on wastewater, is that what you're saying?
The RFP was only for the general fund. That's the way the scope of the project was written by the town.
I believe, Natalie, please elaborate.
The impact fees is for general fund when we develop it. The wastewater expansion is not part of it at all.
Or
The
service.
utility funds or any utility funds here is not part of it. Wastewater does not charge impact fees.
We account for that through special
It's for
connection.
special
Correct, it's an
connection fees. They're
enterprise
two
fund.
It's basically, it's kind of like the same thing, they just call it something different. It's
To
called a
connect
special
to
connection.
wastewater, to connect to the water and wastewater infrastructure, there is a special connection fee. It's still a different fee from the impact fees. Impact fees cover new development that would probably impact the road, the safety, the police, the general.
Parks, police, the general stuff.
Also, do you charge for vacant lots? How do you do that? We do not charge for vacant lots.
Vacant
Charge
lots
what?
with the EDU.
We have EDU with, yes, there is a reservation fee for if they're connected to the water, wastewater, but not the impact fees until the development comes on.
So you don't charge at all for their ability to connect?
Yes, we do, there is
Yes.
a fee.
It's a ready to serve
It's a
fee.
ready to serve fee, that's what
So
the
it's the
utility
same
fund.
idea.
Right.
How do you determine that? By the lot size?
No, it's a fixed fee.
Based off of the EDUs, you pay the minimum water.
So
That's
if
how,
you have a
that's
large
what our code
lot,
says.
if you have a large lot that could have, say, 20
Special
homes in it,
connection.
how is that charged?
So if the large lot only has one EDU, technically you can only put one dwelling. If you wanted to take the large lot and put more on there, you would buy more EDUs. And then you would pay ready to serve until you connect to the system.
But you're not paying for those 20 EDUs.
That you could get.
Hold on, what's your question?
That's your
Can I have the
question.
mic if you don't mind? Okay.
That is the question, if they can put 20 units on there, they only pay for one EDU.
No.
No.
Is
That's
that
not
what
what
you're
I'm saying.
saying? Okay.
No,
That's
I'm
what
saying
I
like, let's say a lot is the size of that table,
Okay.
right? But it has one EDU.
Correct.
It can only have one dwelling. If you wanted to take that lot, and let's say it's 10 acres, and you wanted to put 10 homes on it, you would need 10 EDUs.
And you would pay
At
for
market
those
rate,
EDUs.
yep, at market rate, unless you've had them for a very long time.
But you're not paying a ready to serve.
Yes, you would.
On those 20?
Otherwise,
No.
if you don't pay a ready to serve, right, on any EDU you have, you lose the EDU. You don't get to keep it.
Right, but if you have one that can do 20, but you're only paying for one,
And then you
you're not
decide to
paying
do the 20.
Yeah.
But then you would have to, let's say that lot, the table lot, right?
Uh-huh.
That's 10 acres, has one EDU. If it wants to build anything more than that, it has to come and buy an EDU for each additional dwelling at roughly $17,000 a piece.
But they haven't paid a ready to serve for those.
Because it's not subdivided.
Because, yeah, it's not.
The property is not subdivided.
Every lot that exists has to have a minimum of one EDU.
If you had a 10-acre lot, theoretically, just numbers, you could put 10 houses on it, but you could also only put one.
Right.
So it's not about what it could be developed, it's about what it is today. If it's one solid parcel, it's one EDU.
Is that how you do it in Ocean City?
But John's not with Ocean
I
City.
thought you did Ocean City. When you.
John Hickman?
And also, water and sewer and associated rates, as well as electric rates, are determined and adjusted through rate studies on those utilities, not as part of the
The
general.
scope of this, we could talk about utilities. all
Yeah,
day.
exactly.
But the scope of this project is for impact fees, which are only in the general fund. And it's based off, like, if you wanna build a home, there's a set impact fee. If you wanna build a commercial structure, it's based off of square footage in our code. Any other questions regarding motion 2026-20? Okay. If not, we'll take action by the council. I think there might be an appetite to remove something. So do
Yeah.
you wanna?
So, yeah. Just to review that, I wanted the group to consider removing, so on page 46, removing the general fee schedule review to allow the focus to go on the impact fees to expedite the process as well. And then John did say that the general fee schedule wouldn't be very cumbersome. I'm actually more concerned about the finances at this point. So I would like to make a motion to approve 2026-20, removing the general fee schedule review, which would take $12,442 off the bid price of $49,766.
So I have a motion by Councilmember Green to approve modified motion 2026-20, in the amount of, I believe, $37,325, removing item B, which is the general fee schedule review, in the amount of $12,442. Do I have a second? I know, but I was just asking. Okay. Councilmember Murs, second. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Let the record reflect that the amended motion passes unanimously. Thank you, John. We appreciate it. You'll get the documentation we need to Mary, and I'll sign that. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Now, just, I know you had brought up the deficit for FY '27, projected deficit for '27, just so the public's aware that $12,442 is in this year's '26 budget. So it is still a savings, but I just want to be transparent with
It
the
will
public.
have no impact on the budget.
On '27.
It will be neutral because we're advancing monies from the impact fees to conduct the impact fee
Very
study. Removing the 12,442 will not reduce the deficit.
There was a pull from impact fees.
Right, it's just a wash.
Okay. All right, thank you all. Let's move on to item 3E, resolution 2026-03, and that's the USDA's Rural Development Grant Funding for the Community Center. And Sarah, I'll bring the mic to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council members. I'm really excited to let you know that our community center is moving forward with $1.4 million of congressionally directed spending funds that we received through the earmark application last year. We are required to match some portion of it. There isn't a minimum or a maximum. It just that the town has to contribute some funds to the project in order to kickstart the project with USDA. We have a loan officer that we're working with in their office, and she asked us to go back to our original application, look through and just figure out how much the town needed to contribute, wanted to contribute to the project at this phase. The phase that we're working on with Haley Architecture is the pre-construction design phase. And the total amount is for $1.4,007,000, so the town needs to contribute $7,000 in order to access the $1.4 million grant from congressionally directed spending.
Perfect. And we have about how much in the community center fund?
We have close to 400,000.
So $7,000 shouldn't impact things very much at all.
We have 200 obligated on the budget, that's correct.
Does this have to be cash or can it be income?
I think
I think it's for
cash.
design.
I don't know the answer to that for sure, but I think it does have to be cash.
It's for design phase, so
We can't have it.
yeah, it really wouldn't be in kind.
So this, okay, so the 7,000.
Hold on.
I'm sorry, I'm done, Sarah. I'm sorry.
I think
I'm sorry.
me too.
Okay, so the community center fund currently has approximately approximately $400,000. This $7,000 would come out of there in order to get this 1.4 million. Okay, so my question is, now that we are, looks like if it goes through, we'll be doing pre-construction design phase. Are we any closer to doing any type of work session or work group with the VC, with the other groups involved about how this is going to be operated? I did ask this before, and I just wanted to kind of put it in the atmosphere again because we're doing a lot for this, but I'm curious on how we're going to run it.
You keep asking that question over and over and over, and you keep getting the same answer. We're not at that phase now. And when we do get to that phase, that question will be addressed, but the time is adjourned.
And like the rough estimate of what some of that might look like is in the feasibility study. Just shows that plan. All right, and-
That was Shakespeare.
What did you say? What did Mr. Brown say?
The time is adjourned. That's Shakespeare.
Oh, that's Shakespeare, I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
All right, any other council comment? Okay, thank you, Sarah. Let's open it up for public comment on resolution 2026-03. Just name and street name, please.
Sure, just
Yeah, I would like to see a community center. Do I want to see a community center quite this big and expensive? But I'm not sure. But here's my question. On the feasibility study that we received, sorry, I can take these off now, I'm getting sunglasses. The feasibility study that we got last August, on page 28, it says that it's open 7 days a week, proposed to be open 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. And so it says here that we're gonna need 2 people at the front desk for 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. 2 lifeguards. I mean, it's just not feasible. Okay, so let me continue. So that is my problem with this document that that has been handed to other people to get support for this project. If we're going to ask for support from Congress people, senators, county commissioners, I sort of just would like to know why the document is saying that personnel costs will be $898,000 a year when it can't be operated with 15 people. It's gonna take a lot more people to have something open 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. Even on a busy day when kids are done school and it's 4 o'clock and everybody's showing up, you might need 2 people at the front desk just for that. So I just feel like maybe it should be revised. These personnel costs should be revised to be a bit more accurate. And I kind of know nothing about a whole lot of things, but I mean, two people at the front desk, that's just not very many people, 7 days a week, 12 hours a day. So I would just like to see it's $900,000 in employee costs, and it might need to be double that.
So tell me what the question is this evening.
The
Uh,
question
This evening is just about pre-construction.
and a $1.4 million grant is gonna cost $7,000.
That's the question.
That's the question
That's-
this evening.
My question is, I think the document is incorrect, and this document's being given to other people.
I think you have another question.
Oh, no, I wanted to offer a suggestion because of what she said. With the YMCA in Wycomico County, I realize different population, blah, blah, blah. But couldn't we ask to get some of the local YMCA's, because this is basically what that's gonna be similar to, correct? Why can't we ask them, just to get a basis of employee costs, et cetera, and then we can have a more updated study, less questions?
The feasibility study was, we used data from the Worcester County Recreation Center in Stone Hill. So
It's modeled similarly.
Okay.
The difference between the building that is proposed and the Southern Athletic Complex for Worcester County is that this would have some aquatics, and then it would also have Head Start. But the Head Start building.
That's what I'm saying, maybe we need to go to like the YMCA's who do have aquatics and do have Head Starts.
Right, so, but those were evaluated also with like schools that had aquatics associated with them. The costs weren't just like,
Gotcha.
they did a survey of different folks in the area that had similar capacities to arrive at that number.
It has been a while, but I believe that Ocean Pines was contacted, I believe Ocean City, Recreation Facility in Hillside Park was contacted. I wanna say the YMCA was, but it has been a couple years now. But we took ballparks from all of those organizations and just, tried our best to come up with.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other public comment regarding resolution 2026-03? Okay, seeing none, we'll take action by the council. I have a motion by Vice President Burrell. A second by Councilmember Nichols. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Let the record reflect the vote unanimous. Resolution 2026-03 passes. Sarah, by the way, good job on the $1.4 million grant.
Thank you. While I'm here, do you think that I could skip ahead and do the multi-purpose building demolition update for you all?
Absolutely, go ahead.
So, the last time.
Agenda item 4B.
Yes, 4B, we you all voted to bid out the project to demolish the multi-purpose building, and because it came in so low, we recognized that we had additional grant funding from CDBG, which that is the Community Development Block Grant funding that we received in this fiscal year to knock down the multi-purpose building. We went with your suggestion back to the contractor to find out if we could also demolish the 3 trailers that are being used by Shore Up now. And we are awaiting asbestos testing that's supposed to come back this week, which will be probably the largest cost, the remediation of that. Even though we're demolishing it, you still have to be really careful with it. We're waiting to get that back. I think by Wednesday of this week we should have it, so that I anticipate by the end of this week we'll have an update from the contractor about whether or not that we can use that money to go ahead and economy of scale, knock down the multi-purpose building as well as the 3 trailers, all at the same time.
But the multi-purpose building is ready to go.
It's ready to go,
Yes.
absolutely, and we anticipate that starting by May 1st.
You've already approved the contract on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's go back to agenda item 4A. Update on the Heron Park sale, parcel 57. It has me running point on this, but then Mark, if you want to start coming up to the table as well. And, all right, so the PowerPoint should be available on the table if anybody needs it in the back. There has been a lot of questions about the sale of parcel 57 and Heron Park's redevelopment, so we're going to try and go through everything. Keep in mind, this has been a long process. Mark, I think you originally came to the town in what, 2016, maybe? With the sale of, when was it? When did the town acquire it?
2016.
2016, yeah, awesome. So from the time that the town acquired it until now, we've covered a lot of distance, but this PowerPoint's just gonna cover from 2023 to 2026 present. I'm gonna try and go through it somewhat quickly, and then we'll open it up for everybody. But just so that everybody's aware, the LDA, or the agreement that the mayor and council have with Coastal Ventures Properties, is to sell a portion of parcel 57, less than accept the access road. If you look at page 2, the town goals for parcel 57, and this was in our RFP, it's also been widely talked about by the group, is to revitalize the industrial building at Heron Park. I think we've got a partner that wants to do that, and mayor and council that want to see that get done, and the public that wants to see that get done. We also want to get the property back in the town's tax rolls, and we want to recover a portion of the bond proceeds that the town used to borrow and purchase Heron Park. The next page starts with a heading of 2023 town property line for the contract bids. You'll see that the parcel 57 is there. It's got a roadway that has a really interesting curve about midway through to try and avoid one of the buildings. That was our original thought, that we wanted to try and keep that. But then you see a northern property line that's defined. I believe that's in red from our previous discussion, so that's pardon me with colors. The town RFP offered the northern boundary line there. The next page, you'll see a concept plan submitted by CBP and Palmer Gillis during the LDA negotiations that also show the northern property line. You'll see that Palmer asked if we could move the roadway over where it had that really interesting curve to encroach on part of one of the buildings back there that's used for storage for the town. At the time, when we originally designed the curve and the road, we thought we needed the building, but since we've been able to plan for a new public works facility, so I don't think the need for the building still existed at that time, so we agreed that we could demolish that building and put the roadway over a little bit to increase the land volume on parcel 57. Next page, you'll see February 4th is the heading. You'll still see that northern property line depicted. However, there was a request by the developer to move the roadway over a little bit more. So if you're familiar and you're driving into Heron Park, there are kind of like two entry points. You have one that you can go back to the passive use area of the park, and then you have another that kind of takes you over to like the recycling side of things. Keep in mind, the roadway that goes for the recycling was how you used to enter the rain, sand, and gravel parcel. So that has an easement there, but it's not truly part of Heron Park's property. It is a part of the proper parcel that is a easement that allows you to get back to the old rain, sand, and gravel parcel, which is 191. You can't landlock a piece of property, so that's the access point. So the request from Palmer was to move that roadway over to increase the amount of available land for building and parking that fronts Old Ocean City Boulevard. In exchange, he requested the deal Encompass that Palmer brought to the table, which I think worked for everybody, we agreed, is to transfer a portion of that 191 property that the town owns for a fee to the proper parcel to help make them whole for the easement. All right, moving on, you'll look at a drawing that kind of looks like, we tried to put it up on the screen, I apologize for everybody. Technology didn't want to work. So now we're looking at this slide right here, titled Palmer Concept Design for the LDA provided to the town on March 10th, 2025. You'll notice that it's indicated as Exhibit B with Palmer's handwriting. You'll see that the town legal counsel noted the shape did not match the agreed upon property shape and requested a revision to show the entire property and the concept for the council consideration. You'll see that Palmer and Mr. Cropper said that there would be an expense associated with that. This is a hand-drawn drawing, and they didn't want to commit the funding at that time, that's reasonable. We understand that. So now, moving on to the next part. Palmer exhibits for the LDA provided to the town on March 10th, 2025. This indicates the 75-foot open space in Palmer's handwriting, still keeping the northern property line that we've always discussed, and the 75-foot open spaces in the LDA agreement. So you'll see over on the right-hand side, March 2025, town legal counsel noted that the Exhibit D did not show CBP's planned overlay with a portion of 57 that was agreed to be conveyed. The area to be conveyed context within the entirety of parcel 57. Moving on, you'll see a drawing that kind of looks like an SDAT map. you'll see that the 75-foot open space is marked. This is the parcel outline that was included as an exhibit in the LDA, including the 75-foot setback. So it says, CVP's attorney, Mr. Cropper, the depiction sent in response to the town legal counsel note that CVP representation did not show the depiction of the area to be conveyed plus the 75-foot setback overlay over the legal parcel of 57, and this was attached to the Exhibit A in the LDA. Up next, you'll see something that starts with April 2025 with the green slide. April 14th, 2025, the town council approved the LDA agreement, and then on April 22nd of 2025, the LDA was fully executed by the town and by CVP. Moving on, July 14th, 2025, the town council approved the zoning modification, changing it from residential to B2. Next slide starts in blue. Palmer concept plan submitted for Cropper land swap agreement on October 14th, 2025. Still indicates the northern property line. Let's see. Next slide. November 10th, 2025. Town council approves Cropper land swap agreement. December 29th, 2025. CVP's attorney, Mr. Cropper, emails a request asking for a 6-month extension to extend the initial study period, aka the right to cancel and get their deposit back. That would move the timeline from April 21st, 2026 to October 21st, 2026. It would move closing from July 21st, 2026 to January 21st, 2027. Up next, you'll see a red slide. This, as we've stated to the council, indicates where we started to experience what almost like a shift in behavior or a shift in position.
You say the operation rather than behavior, the way
Yeah, shift in, yeah, there you go, that's a better word, operation, I agree with that, by CVP. So, this is a concept plan that was submitted to the planning department on December 30th, 2025, with a request for the planning commission concept review on January 14th. It includes the northern property line. It includes the total acreage of 6.32 acres. You'll see on January 14th, 2026, the town legal counsel identifies concept plan does not match the LDA. Additional buildings were added to this drawing that were not previously sent to the town. And why that's important, the LDA outlines that a concept plan has to be approved by the council before it can go any further, and that was not done. So we identified that this would possibly need additional council approval prior to officially going to be presented to the Planning Commission. On January 14th, Palmer presented this to the Planning Commission and request for the Planning Commission to interpret what they believe to be the northern property line of parcel 57. It's not at all what we agreed on the LDA. The negotiations take place with the mayor and council. The Planning Commission really had no knowledge of like what that northern property line should be, but there was an urge to try and get the Planning Commission to dissent on that. On January 15th, 2026, Palmer emailed the mayor to let that the LDA says that he is entitled to all of parcel 57, but will donate back area for the park he does not need. I'll go back to the beginning of the slide. It says in the LDA, in quotes, portion of parcel 57, less than accept access road. There's no donating land back to the town that we already own. All right, January 2026, right here. January 12th, these dates, I apologize, they should say 2026 on them, not 2025. January 12th and 14th, the mayor placed calls to Palmer, there was no answer, no return call. January 20th, 2026, Mayor and Palmer spoke over the phone for 34 minutes. We agreed to the expanded northern property line, different from what all the other previous drawings showed. We agreed on an extension of the initial study period, but the initial study period extension would have to include us agreeing on the northern property line. All right, moving on. There we go. All right, next one, brown slide. Palmer revised site plan submitted to Planning Department February 9th, 2026. Here you'll see on the left-hand side where it says Palmer and Mayor January 20th agreed northern property boundary. That's the line that we agreed to. The line that's here, that says town RFP LDA agreed property line, that's the one that we all agreed to in the LDA when it was signed. Mayor and council and CVP. The request was to move that further to the north. More land, not less, and we agreed to do that. The planning department's initial feedback were concerns over the parking setbacks on the access road. You'll see, if you kind of look toward the top part, it's a little hard to see, but right up here, you'll see where the roadway is. It's very difficult to see, but maybe Emily can put out a plan so that everybody's able to see it if you're interested. You'll see that the parking encroaches on the sidewalk. There are literally parking spots drawn on top of the sidewalk and parking spots drawn on top of the town's utility easement. That also encroaches on some area of land that is not in the original LDA. That is parcel 410, not parcel 57. It is not part of the agreement. Moving on, you'll see that this one's got a whole bunch of different colors. That's, it says Palmer's depiction of the boundary lines. You'll see that we started with the blue one. That's the original LDA northern property line. The request was for more. We agreed, January 20th, 26th. Palmer requested, and that's the agreed line. That's in yellow. You'll see again that there was another request on February 2nd, 2026 to move that even further to the north, which we said, okay, we can work with that. And you'll see later that that was action by the council on March 9th, 2026. All right, moving on. February 18th, 2026. The mayor and Palmer speak on the phone for 35 minutes. We agreed to the expanded northern boundary line to include the triangle area, the one that we just showed you. Not the first modification, which we agreed to, and it's the second one that we agreed to. And the extension of the initial study period, but that we have to include again, honoring and legally agreeing that we understand what that northern property line is. February 23rd, 2026. The revised boundary plat was put on the agenda for the mayor and council to action. We canceled the meeting because of a snowstorm. February 24th, 2026. CVP's attorney, Mr. Cropper, sent a letter from Palmer demanding to close immediately on the entirety of parcel 57, and that they would donate back the land for the park and the access road at a later date. Moving on to the next green slide, as March 6th and March 9th on there. It says DBF depiction of Palmer's February 2nd, 2026 requested boundary. March 9th, 2026, the town council approved the proposed boundary. You'll see where we need that access road for the ADA compliance and the emergency access and service entrance for the park. All right, moving on, next slide. You'll see that on March 10th, the day after the council approved the northern boundary line, Palmer requested an additional 0.35 acres. This is the area that was originally in the plan that he had encroached on or the design, I should say, encroached on the sidewalks and the utility easement. Let's see, and that's on parcel 410, not even part of parcel 57 that was agreed upon in the LDA. So on March 23rd, the mayor and council discussed in an executive session and authorized the mayor to engage DBF to create an updated boundary map. Palmer sent an email saying, quote, I also believe that we now can agree what parcel 57 that we have under contract is. Next, March 13th, 2026. Town Legal Counsel response letter for the immediate closing on the entirety of parcel 57. The letter included points that not all the developer's LDA obligations were met, including Palmer showing financing for the first phase, those are understandable things. We're not saying that, like, it's the end all be all, but there are some unmet deliverables that need to be done in order to go to closing. That's what's outlined in this. And that the LDA grants and obligates the town to subdivide a portion of parcel 57 that we agree to be sold and the access road for parcel 57 prior to closing to occur on or before July 21st. DBF, we also explained that DBF is preparing a boundary plat for Palmer to review as required by the LDA, but it requires a legal amendment memorializing the agreement on the northern boundary in order to finish the plat. Because we can't record a plat that we're going to change, we could record a plat that we're going to change lines on later, but then it's just going to cost more money and be less productive. All right, March 17th, 2026. CVP's attorney, Mr. Cropper, sends a letter from Palmer, quote unquote, demanding for a clean 12-month extension of the initial study period. That is the right to be able to cancel and get a return of the deposit until April 2027. And it would extend closing to July of 2027, and not include a legal agreement understanding what the mayor and council's northern boundary line is. It also included a demand to be put on the March 23rd, 2026 council agenda, and it included a demand for a response by March 19th, 2026, or they were going to terminate. March 18th, 2026, town legal counsel's response. The mayor would discuss Palmer's request of a clean 12-month extension with the council at executive session on March 23rd. The mayor has not been formally sent the concept site plan by CVP that they intend to present at the April 8th meeting. Remember, that's required that we get that notification of what's going to be done in accordance with the LDA. And we requested the concept plan to be sent. Next slide. March 23rd, 2026, mayor and council executive session. We need additional information from DBF regarding the parking setback for the sidewalk and utilities. It also was agreed upon in executive session that we would be willing to negotiate regarding the 0.35 acres, and that was communicated to CVP. You'll see that all these denote where like the parking encroached on the, or the proposed parking encroached on the sidewalk and where it encroached on the utility easement. Up next, March 25th, 2026, town legal counsel offers Palmer some options. We said option A, sign this week the 90-day extension that also notes what the northern property line is that's approved by the council, and that we didn't want to separate and could not separate the two items. Option B included a 90-day extension and identifying the northern acknowledging the northern property line enacted by the council, and that we wanted to discuss the adding of the 0.35 acres with the easements on parcel 52. Parcel 52 is all of Heron Park, right? It's made up of several different parcels. So when it says 52 here, it really means the area of 410. After DBF created a revised boundary. And then the goal would be to have it on for tonight for approval. Mr. Cropper responded on the same day saying, quote, they have chosen option A and asked that you prepare the necessary documentation and send it to me for review and approval. Next slide. March 26th. Palmer, quote unquote, rejects the town council amendment reflecting option A, the 90-day extension that we just talked about. And then item 2 on the 26th was the demand again for a clean 12-month extension of the initial study period, aka the right to cancel, get the money back until April 2027 without agreeing to any northern property line. Also, it included a demand for a closed-door meeting with 2 council members. March 26th to April 6th. This is a green slide. Number 1, the mayor directs DBF to create a revised eastern boundary plat, taking into account the town's needs and plans for the area of parcel 410, that area where the parking encroached. But working toward, hopefully, a solution. Number 2, in this same period of time, town attorney David Gaskell responded to some council members' request for a closed-door session with CVP that saying that the Open Meetings Act does not allow for a closed-door session of the entire body to meet with the developer. And we also offered CVP the opportunity to present at the April 13th meeting, which I'm grateful that Mr. Cropper's here with us this evening. We also the town requested multiple times for CVP's availability for meetings, and that request still remained unanswered. The town also has requested multiple times for items that CVP would like to discuss so we can have a productive meeting and move forward, and that request has remained unanswered during this time period as well. March 26th to April 6th, Palmer repeats his demands for a closed-door session with 2 council members, suggests Councilmember Nur and Councilmember Orris. I think that stems from our previous work group meetings. Item 2, Palmer and Sandy are unavailable to present at the scheduled April 13th Mayor and Council meeting due to being on a scheduled vacation and leaving on April 11th. They offer no dates or availability before April 11th and no response to inquiries as to the return time from their vacation so that we can schedule a meeting after they return. They did not provide an agenda or any matters they would like to discuss for an in-person meeting, and they repeated their demand for a clean 12-month extension of the initial study period. Or they would deliver a notice of termination on or before April 20th, 2026. April 7th, 2026, Town Legal Counsel repeats the offer, renews the offer, or repeats the offer to renew option to extend the initial study period for 90 days with the agreed northern property line to accommodate their vacation so that there's no loss of the $100,000 deposit or no fear of the loss of the $100,000 deposit. Palmer's response again demands a 12-month extension, quote, clean extension, and the demand was, quote, quite frankly, our most recent request for 12 months is to extend our contract into a new administration where hopefully a different mayor will conduct the business of the town in a more productive manner. Coastal Ventures concept site plan, next slide. This is showing the northern, this is what was presented on April 8th at the Planning Commission. It shows the northern property line, action by the council on March 9th, but it also shows a willingness to pull back that parking off of the easement that exists for utilities along the new road, and also pulling it off of the sidewalk, which I think is progress. April 9th, 2026, Palmer's emails the mayor and council members a revised concept plan, which is the one we just looked at, and requests that the mayor sign off for a presentation at the Planning Commission on May 13th, 2026 meeting. Restates his demand for a clean 12-month extension, cites the need to get through Worcester County soil conservation and MDOT process and building permit. This is the first time in all of this that we have received tangible items as to why CVP would like to extend for 12 more months. I think that's a good thing. If we're gonna ask for an extension, we've always said, why would you like to extend? This is the first time in all of this that we've received that information from the developer. Number 3, states the need for comprehensive boundary line agreement to complete the design. We agree. Quote, demands to be able to communicate directly with the town's DBF engineers. This is simply not possible, right? Anytime the town communicates with a consultant or an outside engineer, especially DBF, we are billed. And we cannot, there's a responsibility of taxpayer funds. That process of how we get billed and the incurring of a bill, it stems with accountability. And it has been communicated multiple times to the developer that we can't just give open access to our engineers to incur a bill on behalf of the town. If you have something you clearly need defined or answered by our engineers, certainly, well, just send us what it is and we will grant that access. But multiple times through communications over the phone, through email correspondence to the developer, we have explained that we cannot accommodate a blanket open invitation to communicate with our engineers on our behalf. If they want to do that, they can do that by all means. All right, up next, April 10th, 2026, Mayor's letter to Palmer. They didn't ask for this. We just did this because they were going on vacation. We have clear goals in mind. I think those 3 goals still remain the same, and we want to remain open to continuing toward those. So we sent over an extension of the initial study period that says, hey, look, we don't want the deposit because that has an April 21st date on it. We don't want that. We want to continue our communication until May 29th, 2026 to enable you all to go on vacation and DBF to complete the eastern boundary survey for the town council to approve. And then we also want to be able to have a discussion together. So it also commits to discussing additional extension of the eastern boundary of parcel 410, which is that 0.35 acres that CVP has asked for. And it agreed to place Mark Cropper on the agenda for tonight, which thank you for coming. Next slide, you'll see a list of items that have something on the right that say met. These are all the town's deliverables in the LDA that we all agreed when we did the action fully by the mayor and council and signed and agreed to by the developer. These are all the things that we were supposed to do. They're all met, with the exception of the town completing a subdivision of the property and the access road subdivision being reflected. We can't do that because the property line kept moving and because we just recently received a request to add 0.35 acres. We can't draw the plat and record it, only to have to go back and spend money and resources to do that again. So that is the only item that is pending on behalf of the town for the LDA. Moving on, next slide. Almost finished. These are the deliverables by the developer. And when you see not met, that's not punishment, right? But it just shows that there are still items that preclude us from going directly to closing. Some of those are things like understanding and agreeing to what the plat is that somebody would be buying. That's a perfectly reasonable thing to ask for if you're going to spend the money to buy a piece of property. We got it. But there are unmet deliverables that preclude us from going to closing as requested previously by the developer. Next slide. In an effort to move this forward, right? There's been a request for a 12-month extension. I've shared this with the council as well, and it's all here in front of all of you. We agreed in executive session to offer a 90-day extension. We received a request for a 12-month extension, very little reason why until recently, but which we believe those are perfectly reasonable things to ask for an extension for. The challenge becomes that the developer would like a 12-month extension. The mayor and council have agreed to a 90-day extension, which was originally offered to the developer. But when we met in executive session, we said we would be willing to go all the way up to 180 days, 6 months, right? And Mr. Cropper and I talked on the phone on Friday, and I said, look, the council has asked me to start with 90, but I've been authorized to go, I'm not gonna play games. I've been authorized to go as high as 180 days. You made it clear that you all were still pretty firm with the 12-month request, and that's where we left things, right? But in an effort to get to 12 months, what we have done is laid out a plan, and we're open to dialogue on the plan. We're not firm on this, but we really need to understand the rationale behind the additional time request. So the initial study period, moving it to August 13th, 2026, 6 months, right? The initial study period would end, is that accurate, Emily? August 16th, 2026? August 13th, wow, too many dates tonight. And then that would move closing, after the 6 month period, it would be the extension of that opportunity to leave under any circumstance and get your deposit, and get the deposit back within that 180-day period. After the 180 days, we would need a commitment. Hey, look, do you want to continue to go to settlement or not? If not, we're going to try and do everything we can do to put this thing back on the tax rolls, right? And then, if the developer agreed to go forward past the 6 month period, we would have 6 additional months to get us to closing, all right? And that would mean that the closing date would move to October 21st, 2027. And that we would expect the commencement of construction for phase 1 to start by May 13th, 2027. That's it in a nutshell. I know it's a lot, but we've covered a lot of ground. I know it's a nutshell, but I mean, we've covered 3 years together. So I think that there's a way to move it forward. I would like to hear, I think that everybody would like to hear from CVP and Mr. Cropper. And hopefully, I think there's an appetite by all of us to want to get this thing across the finish line. So, Mark, I can read it. He used some steps.
I don't know that you do want to hear from me.
That's okay.
I mean, I was handed this 19-page document, 2 sides, so it's really 38 pages of details, which somebody on behalf of you and the council prepared, giving a certain rendition of the history of this project, which I could not more disagree with. You had details in here about conversations between you and Palmer Gillis that are completely one-sided. They lack any perspective as far as how these conversations took place, when they took place, and why they took place. It would have been nice, and I would say fair, if somebody had shared this with me before coming in here this evening, so that I could even try and prepare a response. I cannot. This is 38 pages of a one-sided document. And I didn't come in here tonight to renegotiate this deal. My client is not even in the country. I wouldn't even begin to try to renegotiate this without my client. My instructions are very clear. He has requested a 12-month extension of the study period. He has a initial study period that expires officially on April the 22nd. For 2-day cushion, I call it April 20th. If he doesn't terminate prior to that date, he loses his deposit of $100,000, penalty funds of $50,000. Your presentation that somehow, some way, the fact that there hasn't been a meeting to resolve these issues is in any way, shape, or form on Palmer Gillis is laughable. He's tried to get a meeting with you, Mayor, and your planning staff since November the 18th. As of today, it still hasn't happened. Not because of Palmer, not because of his unavailability or mine, but because of you and your planning staff. Again, November 18th, we're 6 months down this road. Palmer hasn't even been able to go to the Planning Commission on a concept plan or preliminary plan of a site plan because you haven't signed the application which would enable him to go to the Planning Commission, which has to be signed by the property owner. He hasn't bought the property yet, so he can't proceed to the Planning Commission unless you sign the application. The only way he's been able to have any communications with the Planning Commission is to appear for public comment, because otherwise he can't get on the agenda. The reason he's seeking a 12-month extension of the study period is because he thought he would be much farther down this development track than he is. He's lost commitments from some people wishing to be part of this project because it's taken so long. He can't even, on your list, you are critical that he hasn't delivered proof of financing. Again, of all the things in this 38-page document, that's the most laughable. He can't even make application with the lender for a construction loan because there still isn't a final agreement on what he's acquiring, what all the property adjustments are going to be. We have yet to see a preliminary subdivision plan, even a draft of one, even though you've indicated DBF is in the process of preparing it. The approvals with the State Highway Administration, to my knowledge, aren't resolved. All the access road issues are not formally and finally resolved. He can't even make application for what's going to be about a $25 or $30 million construction loan because he's not at a point in the development process with approvals where he can even put together the application for the loan. That process takes many months. So you want a reason why he wants a 12-month extension of the initial study period? That's it. He thought he would be much farther down the line, and he didn't think it would take over 6 months to get a meeting with you and the planning staff. All these reasons you put in this document that you're critical of Palmer could have been resolved if there had been such a meeting with you and the planning staff. That's why he's been requesting a meeting. I could have shown up this evening probably with 30 pages of emails between Palmer, you, and the planning staff where he's been requesting those meetings, and it's never been allowed. It's never been agreed to. So you take the initial 6 months that he thought he would have more progress. That is first and foremost the biggest reason for the 12-month extension. And quite honestly, he doesn't have a lot of confidence in the next 6 months. He's going to be much farther down the line. So Palmer's in a position right now of having to make a decision. Is the initial study period going to be extended by 12 months to resolve these issues and get him farther down the line where he can at least make application for a construction loan, but without losing his deposit and penalty funds? He's not going to put himself in that position. It's too much money. He has spent an enormous amount of time, energy, and money for a project that hasn't progressed anywhere near as far as it should have. That's the reason for the extension. And again, I'm not here to negotiate this. I'm not going to negotiate it. And quite honestly, I don't appreciate this having been prepared before the hearing where I've been invited to come in here on his behalf, and I first see this as I walk through the door. That's not right. It's not fair to me. It's not fair to my client. And quite honestly, you look up blindsided in the dictionary, I think you're going to see a picture of this document, because that's how I feel. And it's probably a good thing Palmer and Sandy are out of the country, because if he was sitting here beside me, I would not be able to contain him, and I don't know that I would even try. So, it's real simple. Either the town of Berlin provides a 12-month extension of the study period, or I have instructions to deliver that document, which is a termination of the LDA, period. That's where I am. That's it. I have nothing else to say. I know I'm not going to do any more back and forth. So.
I do want to address it.
I'm sure you do.
Thank you.
I'll bring the mic to you.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. So, just for clarification, this document wasn't created for you. It was created to address the public concerns associated with the project and update the public about where things stand because of all the meetings and the public comment that's been provided, even though the CDP has not been on the agenda at certain meetings. They have still taken the liberty to be able to push a narrative that, in our belief, is not true. So, I hear what you're saying. Now, regarding the deposit with April, we're not saying that we want the money.
I'm not negotiating this.
Okay. That's fine. I'll address the public now. With regard to the deposit, the mayor and council have made it clear that we're not looking for an April deadline. We're looking for a May 29th deadline that would give the opportunity for us to meet with Palmer Gillis, CVP, with Mr. Cropper, and the entire mayor and council. Regarding, let's see, not signing a document for the planning commission. We've gone over it multiple times. You've heard that in public at the planning commission meetings. It's been written in the newspaper. It's simply not true. I do not have the authorization. Yes, I know how to write my name. I do not have the authorization to write my name on a piece of paper that includes something that the town council has not agreed to sell, which all the stuff for the planning commission has an encroachment on property that the town council has not authorized the sale of. So, I can't sign that. Proof of financing, we're not looking for it at this stage. I said that when we looked at the deliverables that were met and not met. They're not there to cause anything other than the public to be aware of what's going on. And we're not looking, we understand you can't get financing on something that you can't even close the lot lines on. Got it. We agree with that. Let's see. Not seen a plat. You've seen, your client has seen a plat of what we believe to be the northern property line. It's something he has agreed to multiple times in private meetings. And then when we get out here and we get an action by the council, the next day we get something that says, hey, look, that's not what I want this instead. So we're trying to record a plat. We agree that a plat needs to be recorded in order to go to settlement. We've got that. We just have to know what the lines are going to be. That's it. I think that's about it. Yes, I'll open up the council.
Thank you. There's no question there's been a ton of controversy surrounding this project. I mean, there's been hundreds of emails going back and forth. It's been played out on social media. It's just gotten so ridiculous, and it's become nothing but noise. It just can't continue. It's my belief we need to take a step back on both sides, have a breather, and let each party kind of regroup on this and decide how best to proceed. Even the council earlier, the mayor and council had a very spirited conversation on how to proceed. But I think it's in the best interest of moving this project forward that we do offer a 12-month extension. So I will make a motion to offer CDP an unrestricted 12-month extension on parcel 57 contract. And let's just get this thing done right.
Second.
Before I call for a vote, I know there's a motion and a second on the floor. There needs to be, by this body, a firm request to CVP for any extension to include an understanding of the northern property line. There's been a reluctance to do so. I don't know why, but it's disingenuous to the to moving the project forward if we can't even get them to agree to the line that they requested in the first place? And,
Council has agreed to
yeah, but
We voted on it.
okay, then why won't you include your 12-month extension to include them agreeing to the?
Because it's already been done.
But it's not then. Time and time again,
The council is selling the property, the town is selling the property. The council has agreed to the northern border.
okay,
You've made that decision, that's what it is.
then why wouldn't
You
you
don't have to
include?
negotiate that.
Then why won't they agree to it? If that is what it's gonna be, then why won't they agree to it? What's the reason?
It was their suggestion in the first place, and then.
Twice, and they've moved it both times. How can you not say that it's in the best interest of the public to agree to the northern property line? And then the other side of it is too, how can you ensure that things are going to change? 12 months, yes, I agree, there needs to be, calmer heads need to prevail, we need to be able to get together, we need to be able to have these type of discussions to move it forward. I do not disagree.
Because the bottom line, is if he submits that letter at the end of this meeting, there's no plan B for what happens to this property.
I hear
It's a
that.
derelict property that we can pretty much do nothing with.
I hear that, right? Like, I understand, and I have advocated for Mr. Gillis to be in this role with the town. I have advocated multiple times in public and said that I believe he is the best person to move forward with this with. I believe in the projects he's revitalized in the past, and I think he can do a phenomenal job here in the town of Berlin. However, our job is to represent the citizens and to hold the developer accountable to certain things that we say, hey, look, this is what we need to do. And we have by no means been difficult to work with. Each time there has been a request to move the property line, we have done it. We have made efforts to try and move this project forward. My question is, what's kicking the can down 12 months for a blanket agreement to be able to extend the LDA with him to be able to walk at any time?
He has financing, he has time to work with MDOT, he has time to work with Worcester County Soil Conservation. The bottom line is, we need to end this noise.
But this isn't noise, Chad.
This is totally.
This is not noise. This is coming from a public that wants to know an update on the project, right?
You give your update and he.
That's fine, that's fine. He can, it was not directed for Mr.
Nobody knows
Crawford.
what's going on, what's the truth behind it all?
But you all
Let's
do.
stop all that.
But the council does know the truth.
So, okay, right, so we listened to all this once,
Yep.
executive, and we've heard it twice. I still have a second for a motion to extend for 12 months. Maybe there'll be another motion to address your point. But I know what we're looking at right now is pretty firm. It's more important to me that we keep this process moving forward than that letter being delivered tonight.
I understand, and I by no means want that letter to be delivered. However, I'm not gonna sit here and make a decision out of fear that he's gonna hand us a letter. If he does, that's gonna be up to them. But we have to hold true to what our terms are and represent the town of Berlin. I don't want your letter. Truthfully, I wanna work together. I want us to be able to move the project forward. I don't want it.
They call the vote.
But,
Yeah, we
but
have a
hold on.
motion.
Now,
The attorney-
well, yeah, actually, I do, because I'm getting ready to. What I have been advised is that legally, we should not, from a position to protect the town, enter into an agreement that does not solidify the northern property line.
That will be forthcoming. Can we call the motion, please?
Did we get comment from the public before this motion is called?
So-
We did not?
We did not.
Well, that's.
Would anyone like to address
outside
the mayor
what
and
we
council?
did.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
I can
Just
honestly,
finish the-
Tina Valon and Kevin, you got it, I'll pass the sucker along, I know this line. I cannot believe we're back here. This is unbelievable. I actually was talking to people, and I said, I was wondering if Palmer had not broke ground yet. And then we have this mess. Nobody's innocent in this, I know it, there's back and forth, developer got his, but, and you guys got a little bit of a pass because it was your first real big land deal, and that, let's face it, that place is an albatross. It was a mess. The things I don't understand, and I talked to Palmer and Sandy for 2 hours because of your post in public. He said he was not lying. He was not lying. We went through that, but you did leave some things out, didn't you? One of the things that he said was you guys had a basic deal with Dave, and then all of a sudden Emily comes along and that deal was gone.
That's not true. The council voted to turn down that deal.
Okay.
That had
So
nothing to
what
do-
also that was mentioned that I want clarified, because I believe it was done at the planning and zoning, is that it was a scriber's error done on this parcel, and then it was changed to it wasn't the intended border. What was that about? 'Cause that's nothing what you're
The
presenting.
area that has been intended and in the LDA conveyed is a portion of 57, less than except the roadway.
Less than accept the
And
roadway.
all these are very chronological.
So you're talking about the roadway that is required by the state to have access.
It's a town road. It's not.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about parcel 57 was 9 acres, correct? 10 acres. Knocking on 10's door. They didn't want the area by the berms. They didn't want the grasslands. That's
Everything
fine.
that they wanted was 6.32 acres. You can see.
That's great. 6.32 acres. They were mandated by the state to have road access. You cannot sell a property that's landlocked. So that doesn't even count. That's not a give up. That's not anything. That's a wash.
What are you talking about?
I am talking about the entranceway, Zach, the way they get in.
but
So
they-
if they're giving up
They had
an
three,
acre.
I believe. Now, I'm doing this off the cuff. I don't know 100%. They had 3 entry points. I think that's been reduced down to 2 by SHA. Nothing to do with us.
I understand it's like 0.25 or 0.28 acres that are mandated by the state for the access.
I can't dissent on that one way or the other. I know that they had 3 entry points into the property.
Okay.
The one that you can turn to go back to passive use, and then 2 in the front. All
Okay.
Passive Boulevard.
The question's not that. The question was, first you said it was a scriber's error, which I think is ridiculous. I went back to 2005 legal documents. They all say the same thing about parcel 57, all the same direction. So what was the scriber's error? What was that mistake?
I don't know what you're talking about as far as the scriber's error or what document you're talking about,
Okay.
but I can tell you that these are all the different documents that we were given.
And that's great, but still, it was a 9-acre parcel. They didn't want the burn. They didn't want all the grass
It
crap.
wasn't even up for consideration.
You sold parcel 57, you didn't redraw the boundary line, you're selling,
A
excuse me,
portion
my
of
English.
57.
But then you didn't even have an idea.
I'm not
a
selling
concept.
it, the town is selling it.
Yeah,
I
because
can
we
buy
should
the
have bought it in
area.
the first place, and that's why we're getting angry.
I'm not here to read.
You brought this up on Facebook, Zach. You addressed this on Facebook.
Because of all the concerns and questions I was getting. And I am answerable to the public.
Yeah, you all are. This is friggin' ludicrous. This is a $1.2 million deal for an albatross that we wasted so much money on. I don't care what you do, you get it done.
Could I have my
The vice president.
I agree with you. I agree with Jim.
Thank you.
We need to get this done. I also agree with Jim, but I understand that. Folks, listen. If this year extension does pass, and it is accepted by Parliament, we have got to stop this public noise. And instead of expressing our views on Facebook or whatever the media is, you need to come to these meetings and say what you think and say what you want. But this public access as it relates to government is not the way to go. If you have an issue, if you have a concern, it needs to be addressed in this room, not on Facebook, not on whatever else is in there, because I really don't know. But come to these rooms. Now, chances are, Jay's motion will be approved. But going forward, if we're gonna get this deal done, we need to work together and stop all this noise and stop all this mess and stop all this he said, she said stuff. This man's name was, no, I'm not gonna say this man, but we have been drugged through the mud concerning inactivity and things of this nature, and the town council's not doing nothing, and this should have been done, and this should have been done, and this should have been done. You need to come here and say that. I usually don't read that stuff, but it's a lot of people out here that does read that stuff. All I'm asking, if we're gonna get this deal done, we need to work together. We need to work together. Not he said, she said, he didn't, I did. But we need to really work together to get it done. And I'm not gonna say what I think about this deal.
I'll take it.
Just name and street, please.
My name's Ron Humphries, I'm 9 Gray Street, Burlingame, District 1. I wear several hats living here tonight. I'm a resident, been in this town for 53 years. I grew up in that neighborhood. I've seen it go from dog food plant, I've seen it go from chicken plant, I've seen it go from choice purchase. Just want to give you a little bit of a background on the property. I did all the deed research for this project. I'm also the draftsman who created the civil plans. I work for Parker and Associates. My boss had asked me not to stand up and say anything tonight, but as a resident, I'm gonna put that hat on with a little bit of 25 years of surveying background. 2005, 2004, Mr. Purnell purchased the property for $4 million from Tyson Foods. Is that correct?
2005.
Sorry?
2005.
2005. 2016, town bought the property from Mr. Purnell, $2.5 million. Never known that man to lose a penny, but he's back, he's out $1.5 million over the course of 10 years. At that point, Woody Bunny prepared a plat. Lot 57 is clearly shown on that plat, but it is not depicted with property lines, bearings, or distances like a proper survey should. It does relate to a deed that does cover the entire parcel, 69 acres. 2016, when the town took over the property, approximately 7 plus or minus acres was given to Worcester County for the offices that are behind the gas station. They were formerly Tyson's office buildings. That was given to them. Overall parcel now becomes about 61 to 62 acres. I did the deed research on Lot 57 from 1960. Lot 57 is a conglomeration of a consolidation of 4 lots from 4 different families. If you go by the acreage on those lots with the deeds, you're over 10 acres. Modern day surveying, I could take those bearings and distances, put them in a computer, and I come up with about 9.5 acres. It's off, but you're talking 50 years of technology. Lot 57 became a part of the overall. According to the survey by Woody Bunny, there's clearly lines on that survey that are dashed. They are representative of abandoned property lines. So when you're saying you're selling Lot 57, you're basically trying to create Lot 57 again to sell it again, according to the plats. That's the fact. Just wanted to let everybody know on that.
But you are, what you said too about like the discrepancy in the survey.
There's 3 discrepancies.
Well, you're right, because we hired DBF to do an initial survey to help figure out what we were going to sell the first iteration. And they came back to us and said, look, we've got a rough idea, but we also found these discrepancies.
There's over a foot and a half plus.
What the mayor and council agreed.
Again, that's old.
What the mayor and council agreed to do at that time was to let it be, because we were hoping to revitalize that parcel. And in the LPA, what we say is a portion of 57. That is to be defined by both parties working together.
I agree completely. It needs to be defined. Town of Berlin entered into a land agreement with a contractor with a lot that has absolutely no description. of modern day technology, modern day rules, modern day deeds, modern day information.
And with that too, like each time that lot line was denoted on all the drawings, that has increased with our continued discussions with.
That line has increased due to the fact that we found the errors in the plats.
I'm
And
just
the
saying that
land
we-
agreement says part and portion of.
Correct.
That could be 10 feet, that could be a bathroom, that could be a manhole cover. It could be an easement for 10 feet. That is very, very indescriptive. The town of Berlin entered into a land agreement with absolutely zero description of a piece of property with a lawyer that prepared it and has been just stonewalling the project from day one.
That's not a fair
That-
representation.
Everybody
That- I
that's
mean,
been in the
that's
planning
not a
commission
fair
actually knows. But I'll leave it at that. So going back, the land, lot 57, the 0.35 acres is a strip of land approximately 15 feet wide back to the back property line. It's a strip of grass. If the town wants to keep it, Palmer's made the comment even in planning commission, who's gonna take care of that strip of land? The town, is the purchase price of the property still $2.5 billion according to the land agreement?
It's 1.2.
1.2?
And just for clarification, the mayor and council agreed, and it was conveyed to CDP and Mr. Cropper, that we were willing to discuss selling and including a portion of that in the sale. However, what we have to do is make sure that we don't put parking on top of the sidewalks, which we all know, and that feedback that we've provided has been taken into consideration with the future iteration that was presented on April 8th, which is a work in progress.
The parking on top of the sidewalk that you keep going back to is incorrect because of the fact that that property line does not exist.
But also.
Do you agree with me that that property line does not exist?
But Ron, hear me out, like, none of the property lines are truly fixed because we haven't registered a new plat.
Again, the
But
town
now-
of Berlin entered into an agreement, a land agreement
Hold on.
for a parcel of
Give me-
property
give me
that
one
doesn't have
second.
any description
Give me one
or
second.
acreage.
The parking is on a parcel that was not included in the original LDA. We are not saying that part is off the table. What we are saying is that we need to have a discussion about making sure that the sidewalks maintained, making sure that the town utility easement exists, and then from there, whatever is remaining is probably gonna be less than 0.35 acres, or it might be equal to. We can have a conversation about including that in the new drawing of 57. We're not gonna know.
So, my question is, does the town want the 50-foot right-of-way of the road to be the only parcel of property that you're looking to own, or do you want to own that 0.35 sliver that is in
What
contention?
we have said to CVP and Mr. Cropper is that we are willing to add that and negotiate a portion of that into the sale of what 57 would include. However, we need to hear from our engineers, DBF, you referenced Parker Associates, we need to hear from our team. What does that look like? Making sure that our drawings are consistent and that our engineer is the one putting forward the documents that are action, because there's been a discrepancy in the past. Was this review, approved or was that approved? And we're trying to limit that. There's one party making the changes to the lot line, that is DDF, because we are gonna have to use them to record the plat at the end.
Completely understood, I've been in business for 30 years.
I'm
I
just-
completely understand.
For you and for the public, I had to explain.
Okay, and also for the public, I just want the public to know that the town of Berlin did accept our comprehensive development plan and our stormwater comprehensive development plan.
Absolutely.
I received over 25 comments on it. Every single one of those comments was met. The latest thing that you saw that was prepared for Mr. Mark is everything follows town code.
But we
The town
haven't
code-
disagreed with that.
No, just a comment on this. The town code, this is a different topic, but the town code needs a lot of work. As
We
far as
agree,
helping
100%.
guys like me try to plan these things. When things change like that, it's not because the owner has an issue. Those changes happen because the planning department all of a sudden finds a rule that says, we would like to suggest that you do something. That's not a rule, that's a suggestion, and that is not how
We understand
planning
that there-
should go. I just wanted to add
We
that, and
understand there are a
I'm
lot
clear
of,
to that.
I know, but we understand that there are a lot of areas in our town code that are very vague or may not be up with the times. And we recognize that and want to fix it. Any other public comment?
I don't understand how you can sell a property and not have not know what you're selling. That's the one thing I really can't get right now.
But keep in mind, when we started the process, we had, the reason that it has always been a portion of 57, less than accept the road, right? Is because.
It was never a portion.
It has been. That's what. both
I
sides
remember
agreed.
the original talks about it, and you were selling 57, and he was gonna give back part of it for a pavilion or something.
That's
the original.
That was the old
Original idea
That
of
is not-
57.
That failed. Unfortunately, that failed.
Yes, but 57 never changed.
But in the new agreement from 2023, it has always been a portion of 57. And the reason that it did that is because both sides have to agree to what the plat would be before it is sold.
But you don't have a good idea of what 57 is, it doesn't sound like.
We have a much better idea.
But
of
that's
what
not the
57
same thing as saying, you're selling 57, I know
We
what
know
I'm
what,
selling.
we know what we would like to sell.
Well, that's not the same thing.
However, we have not been able to get the developer to agree because the part that it
If I was a developer, I wouldn't agree, because you guys don't know what you're doing.
But Ms. Marie, you have to understand that along the way, a lot of these have been requested by the developer to change these things, and we have gone along with that.
So you don't know what 57 is? Sorry. Ray Jenkins, I am on Gay Street. So what is Plat 57? You still will not give a definition. You keep on saying an idea. You do not know what Plat 57 is. She still is,
So we
there
know
is a
what-
point here.
We know what 57 approximately is, and it's not, hold on one second.
Approximately.
But hold on, and the reason I say that is it's not just the town saying that. Mr. Ron Humphrey, how many years of surveying experience?
30.
30. Has found how many discrepancies in what 57 is? Numerous. So it's not just the town of Berlin that doesn't clearly know what 57 is, but what we are working to do is mutually agree on what we believe is going to be sold.
So we're arguing over an acre.
What's that?
We're arguing over an acre?
No.
And that's what's impeding,
We have
for
gone-
example,
keep
with
in
the
mind-
loan
Keep in mind.
and the
hold on.
financing.
Hold on. You can't get financing on something that can't be defined.
Right.
No
Right.
bank's-
So that's the whole.
No bank's gonna lend on that, right?
Right.
But, to your point, Gina, what we are saying is that the original agreement for $1.2 million included 6.32 acres, right? Roughly. And then the line has moved, right? Further, making it more property, right? And then now the request, and that has been actioned by this body, right? We have
Well, I
said,
said,
this is-
nobody was innocent in this.
well, I mean, and it's not like there's a guilty party. There's what's being painted in the public as the town not wanting to work with the developer, which is not true. We have a mutual goal to want to see this redeveloped. That is simply not true. I think it's being used as a negotiating tactic. However, what is happening? I believe it to be being used as a negotiating tactic.
By who?
By CBP.
Really?
Yeah, I do. Because there's no, Mark, I've asked you.
You can't say that. You're completely adversarial to somebody wanting to patronize your town. You're completely patronizing. You can't speak like that.
I hear you. But now, Gina, the
Yes,
line
sir.
has been moved to include more property. The request is now to include additional property, 0.35 acres. I don't think that's a deal breaker for the town. However, we need to be able to agree on basic things, like when you ask for a lot line, and we do the lot line, please agree that that is exactly what we want, so that we can move forward on recording the plan.
So, again, I'm saying, we're arguing over an acre. I mean, it is, but at the same time, let's break it down to what this is. We're arguing over an acre of land.
Are we ready to call the motion? Is there any more
Yes.
comment?
Jeff, you got a comment?
Jeff Boxer, 19 Jefferson. I just think it's very important that the fact that someone wants to actually do something with that property is crazy to me anyway. So whatever it takes to have that done, it needs to be done. And it needs to be done timely because he's not going to sit around and wait. So whatever has to happen, and as far as Mr. Burrell, the noise, well, it just became public. So no one really knew what was going on until the planning commission meeting. So the noise is here because everyone's just finding out, you're hearing things, but now it's out in the public, so it's gonna help the noise go away, and I understand that.
Yes, it will.
But it is, the if you wanna be responsible for taxpayers' money, and like you're saying, the residents, I don't think that there's anybody that does not want this to happen. So the responsibility is to do it, get it done. There's no one that's gonna be opposed to it. There's a lot of people that disagree on a lot of things, like Maria and myself sometimes, but that's okay. But this project is not like that. Everybody wants it to be completed. So it's in the best interest for the taxpayers of the town and the residents to complete this. Whatever it takes, get it done. They do have, look, whatever needs to happen, it's not even worth arguing over, or figuring out, just get it done.
Yeah. May I say something, and then we're gonna go to this vote, and that, because we'll be here till the cows come home. Right. We will be here till the cows come home, because we've been talking about this for years. I mean,
6 years.
What I'm gonna say is this. The only thing that I don't wanna see happen in this 12-month period is for anybody to say, oh, I forgot the MDE said ... That's the only thing that I don't want to see happen, is that it comes up somewhere down the line, and I'm not saying that that's where we are, Mark, that's not what I'm saying, but I want to be on the record for saying today, my birthday, April 13th, whatever year this is, that I want to be noted, that Shanika Nichols, Councilmember Nichols stated, that we don't want to come back between today and 12 months from whatever we agree upon at this moment and say, I had no idea that I couldn't do this because, and I didn't know the MDE said ... and that prohibits or stops whatever is supposed to happen with Coastal Ventures or whomever this is from this point forward. I don't want that to come up. I don't want that to come up and be the catalyst that stops the project. That's what I'm saying today. So you all take that as you may, and let's move to the vote, folks.
But you know that can happen.
Well, I'm saying to you right now, and I'm saying that to Palmer and Sandy and Mark and everybody in this room, and all the folks in social media land, and everybody in this council, everybody in this entire entity. I am stating right this moment, if we agree upon this 12-month extension, I do not want somebody to come back in this room and say, you all told me, I thought I could do this, that, and the other. We thought you could do that and the other. I didn't know that the MDE guidelines, I didn't know that this was an MDE guideline. I thought this was just what the town was stating. I don't want that to come up. I don't care who sits in planning and zoning tomorrow, next month, 2 years from now. I don't want that to come up. If it's an MDE guideline, then everybody at this table on both sides of this room needs to adhere to the MDE guidelines as of today if this is agreed upon.
That's a different.
Is that clear? Does that make sense, friends?
That is a different.
Does that make sense? And that needs to be added to whoever motion. Can I add that to your original motion?
It should be amended if you want.
Well, let's
That needs to be a motion.
No, it's not an action.
Well, I'm just saying, what I'm saying is, I don't want that to be the cobweb that's gonna come up later on and be the thing that stops all the noise, that stops all the things.
To be clear, if I may,
Yes, please.
the motion on the floor is to extend the initial study period for 12 months. Period.
And her statement is on the record.
Statements on the record. An extension of a study period allows the developer during the study period to do whatever research is necessary regarding all aspects of the project and can get out no matter what for any or no reason during the study period. That's why it's a study period. Okay, so I want clear, even though I've heard your concern, if the study period is extended by 12 months, the developer doesn't even have to give a reason for a termination later, as long as it's a timely termination during the study period. Whether it's the MDE restrictions, whether it is because we can't agree on the parcel 57 that's being acquired, or the State Department, State Highway Administration doesn't agree to the entrance into the project. It could be any or no reason. So while I hear what you're saying, a study period has no restrictions for a right of termination and getting back your deposit and penalty funds.
No, Mark, I understand that completely. I understand that. But I don't want, because everybody's reading all these things, and everybody's having side conversation, and everybody's talking. I don't want this to be one of those things, when and if this comes up in that 12-month period, to be, nobody ever made anybody aware, nobody ever knew.
I think
I did it.
everybody's
That's
aware.
all
I think
that's-
everybody's
thank you.
aware that
I wanna
there
make
is
sure that that's.
an MDE restriction on the use of this property, whether it's the developer or the town of Berlin.
Great, I wanna make sure that it's out there, that.
Okay.
Perfect.
So I have a motion on the floor, Councilmember Nur for a 12-month clean extension. I'm sorry, oh, one more citizen comment?
Do you need the mic or can you holler?
I got it.
You know, it's very clear what the council wants to do and is not doing, and I'm not here to fight about that. I just want to make a couple of observations. It's very clear to me that the town finds itself in this rather embarrassing situation of basically being steamrolled because the town did not ever develop a clear idea of what it wanted to do with this entire parcel. It's 7 parcels before the romance started, which is obviously over now. Before the romance started that led to this agreement. But we didn't even determine, as has been pointed out, what it was physically, the land that was being signed over. So I hope that the lesson from this kind of clown car that I hope we'll get out of, that this whole fiasco has been, is that if the town ever finds itself in a position where it's selling or redeveloping, you know, a significant parcel that it owns, that it relies on its own resources and it looks inward and it develops among the people of the town and among the people who have skills and are willing to donate them to the town, that we come up with a good plan of what we want to do before we rush into something like this and get steamrolled. Personally, I think the town should take a letter. And that's not out of some animus against the developer. I think we should have done, I think it would give us an opportunity to do this right, which we never did. But again, that's water under the bridge, and I know what y'all are going to vote. But I think the lesson here is that, you know, when the town is taking such a major action, such a large piece of land that has ramifications for downtown, environment, all sorts of things, we need to get in our head what we want out of that development before we go to a developer and start signing on the dotted line.
Thank you. I have a vote, or a motion by Councilmember Nur for a 12-month extension of the LDA due diligence period. And I have a second by, I think it was Councilmember Green. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Let the record reflect that the vote's unanimous with all council members present.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can we,
So I will be quick. I know it's late. We've gone over, but just some clarifications from my end. And I'm not going to rehash. I'm looking to move forward, but I find it difficult in a way to believe we don't know what parcel 57 is, because we had an easy time getting it appraised twice and figuring out a sale price. The LDA here also says the access road location under section 3.2, and I'm just reading this for everyone's awareness. During the preliminary considerations period, the town, in consultation with the developer, will design and finalize the location of the access road, associated sidewalks, and curb cuts from Old Ocean City Boulevard to parcels 57, 191, and 410, and any other space required by State of Highway Administration. So I'm glad that we got this, got the extension. Oh, yeah. Hello? Oh, I'm back. I'm glad we got the extension. I think that was good. But I also want to point out to, or throw out to the group here, that we need to define, in order to make this go a little bit, in my opinion, forward progress a little better, officially re-approving the modifications, which I believe we had already done. So I'm just going to go ahead and make a motion of the council approving the boundary modifications of parcel 57 to recognize the proposed ceded northern section of approximately 1.07 acres from ZVP, CVP, to the town as the northern boundary.
I'm confused.
Well, we did, but apparently there was some confusion, so I'm asking for official on the record action.
There's already action.
Then let's do it again. Can I make a motion stating the same?
What document are you approving?
It would have been Exhibit A. It's the triangle on the top. We're just establishing that line.
The triangle with the yellow lines.
So then we all agree that that northern line is the northern line.
No, hold on. I will tell you the action is.
What's the name, Jack, on that, on the word?
Reference the title of the.
I have an Exhibit A. It's this one, essentially.
No.
No, that's.
What the, are you talking the yellow shade?
Then we need to approve.
This is what we approved.
Then that's it. So we are all in agreement that that northern line is the northern line.
What is the title of the permit survey going on right now? Please.
Can I address? What was your question?
Isn't there a pertinent survey going on right now?
So we've instructed DBF to measure, because everything else was just drawn on like an iPad or something like that. We wanted something that actually was measurable and
Meets
reported.
and bounds.
So DBF has measured and is capable of recording that line right there. There was action already by the mayor and council on March 9th unanimously.
I'm unclear if you have to approve it or not. Again, I would just modestly make the modest suggestion that before you approve a lot line, that maybe you have your surveyor ensure where that lot line is.
I couldn't agree more. I think
But
maybe.
what you said, I'm not looking just there. I feel like what you're saying is the
What I'm saying is,
the
I'm
12-month extension goes along with this picture.
No, there was no contingency. You made no contingencies in your motion. It's a clean extension of the LDA for 12 months.
Okay. Jack, what are you saying?
What I was saying was the confusion, I believed, stemmed from the fact that we unanimously agreed on lines in open session, and the next day there was confusion abound on what that approval was.
That's not true.
So, but if you're saying it's approved, then we'll just move on.
I'm not saying
Is that what?
the public record in the minutes you approved is that it's approved.
Okay.
You voted in favor.
I know what I voted for. But,
We haven't addressed it.
but that's, yeah, that was my second part of this, but, so a motion of the council to approve the easterly boundary of 57, currently abutting parcel 410, to be modified to include in the sale approximately 0.35 acres to run parallel and meet proposed town-owned road. For guidance and reference, these modifications are presented and defined in the documents that we already have.
I don't say this very often, but I think I agree with Mr. Henry. Ed's right. You're once again going to enter into something that your engineers have not even, they're literally in the midst of preparing for you. You know that.
But we already agreed this, right?
No, we did not. We agreed to have a negotiation with CVP about the 0.35 acres. And literally, you all know this. It's in your inboxes. It's been talked about multiple times. We have the engineers literally working on what Mr. Hammond just said, making sure that whatever we put in documentation and approval actually can be recorded and is clear and understandable by the public, by CVP, by everybody.
So
But
when
I
is
got a
that
motion.
step gonna be done?
What's that?
When is that step gonna be done?
I'm not a DBF person. We've asked for it as quickly as possible. We now have 12 months. So we will do our best to get it done as quickly as possible.
So my challenge to us as a town is, it's really just prove us wrong. Prove us that 12 months was silly. Really just asking.
I mean, we want the deal done as quickly as possible.
I believe you, that you do want the deal done. I do, but you.
I don't act unilaterally. I'm the mayor, but I do not act unilaterally. I act with the authority of the mayor and council. Well, with approval of the council.
No, But I know that you don't think 12 months is necessary, so I'm like, man, I
But
would
see,
be right.
I came into this proposing what we had originally discussed. I had no ideas outside of what the mayor and council already agreed upon. 90 days, then 180 days. If you all want to do 12 months, be my guest. You have voted and you have made a decision. I'm not here to prove you wrong, prove you right. I want to see the deal done. Certainly.
The motion's done. The motion's been passed. What? And I've got a check here for the filing fee, the review fee for what Palmer has already submitted for review to go to the planning commission on a preliminary site plan approval, not final. He just wants to be able to go to the planning commission, look at what he's prepared, and get whatever comments.
But as we have stated, and what we have said does not change. We still need to have clarity on that 0.35 acres. I am not authorized to sign anything yet until we know what that 0.35 acres looks like from DDF. We want to move you forward to the planning.
Just so I'm clear, there is no theory under which Coastal Venture Properties will be on the agenda of the planning
I'm not
commission.
saying that, by any means. I didn't say that.
That was going to be my question.
Okay.
What, since I've got the filing fee, and I've got the application that requires your signature, what has to happen so that we get on the agenda of the planning commission for May 13th?
I am not the person to provide that input for you, or feedback for you. What I can say is that we will make sure you have it tomorrow.
Okay.
And what I would also say is hold the check. I think you're good for your client's good for the money. And when we need to be able to put it on the planning commission, then we'll say you need to make your check payable. Is that reasonable?
Yes, and I'll just state for the record, Coastal Venture Properties really wants to get on the agenda of the planning commission for a preliminary site plan approval, and whatever we have to do to accomplish that, we want to do.
And we have, and the town has provided the same feedback to DBF, our engineers. We want it as soon as possible to get it done.
Can I say something?
I think
It encroaches on area that has been yet to had feedback to the town about whether or not that can be built out. We're waiting on the engineers from DBF to say, this can be good, this cannot be good. They'll provide it to Parker and Associates, they'll provide it to you.
Let me comment, but I don't want to get on this.
Yeah,
But all I want to say is, it's preliminary, it's not final. And so all Coastal Venture Properties wants is one initial meeting with the planning commission. Even if all the i's aren't dotted and all the t's aren't crossed, for the planning commission to look at the general development plan, give general comments that will then be reflected later, once all the details are ironed out.
We want that too.
Okay.
However, I'm not gonna sign something that is not active.
And you understand, we can't go to the planning commission without a signature.
You need the microphone call.
Now, does the client have to have full ownership to submit a preliminary design plan? A preliminary construction set doesn't have to, client doesn't have to have ownership of that property. He's presenting.
We've never said that.
I'm saying, can the client submit those plans and have them to review without ownership of the property? It's allowed in other municipalities and it is allowed at other
For
places.
the purposes of this, the town will need to authorize the concept plan to move forward. That's in the LDA.
Which means we can't move forward until we have somebody's signature.
Correct. 100%.
Are we able to communicate to DDF what on the drawings they can work with to establish needs and bounds?
What is the question, Mayor? I'm sorry.
Are we able to provide instruction to DBF as to what lines they can use to establish needs and bounds?
Yes.
Because
We will.
without that, they can't.
Right.
They can't.
So that hasn't been done yet.
Well, I'm saying,
That's not what we're saying.
there has been so much back and forth with lines moving for various reasons. We just need to be able to give them something,
I think that's where Jack
because
is
you
going.
can't just draw a
Well,
line on a
we
paper
have to
and
give
call
more
it
direction. I think we have to reiterate.
Okay.
that
So
direction.
that includes the
Yeah.
0.35?
It includes that in concept, yes.
It's like approximate.
Correct, there you go, thank you. All right. So we move this along.
Thank
Thank you.
Thank you, we appreciate it.
Thank you, Mark.
Up next, agenda item 5. With that? Up next, agenda item 5, town administrators report, departmentals, anything outside of what's in there?
The main thing I want to emphasize publicly are the couple of meetings coming up regarding comprehensive plan and the Hudson Branch Restoration Project. Property owners in the immediate vicinity have received or will receive letters directly, but it is open to the public. Both those meetings are right here.
Thank you.
They're on the list.
Any questions for the town administrator or regarding the departmentals? Go ahead, Jim.
I have one real quick, I'll share. Keller Brothers started the town hall renovation last Monday, the 6th. Asbestos abatement is already completed. Construction of the fences are put up. Dumpsters are delivered. They're working on the temporary phase 3 power installed, power transfer, which will happen between now and next Monday. And the first floor ceiling has already been taken down.
Wow.
And the second floor ceilings they're working on that. And they actually went through and laid out all the walls, interior walls to be done with stuff. So.
And we have our first progress meeting Wednesday.
Thank you, Jim. Any questions for Mary?
Question for Mary, Steve Decatur bathrooms, I know you said they're.
Any minute now, that's literally what I was told. I think there were some submittals that they were still working through, but it's ready to go once it's ready to go.
And just real quick, please, if we could circle back, last year, I don't remember what it was, we talked about fire pits, and planning was gonna kind of look into that. So if we could just maybe circle back in there, yeah, it's about ready to be fire pit season, just to get any clarity on that, would be great. Thank you.
Anything else for departmentals or town administrator report? Okay, seeing none, we'll move to agenda item 6, comments from the public. Ms. Marie, you want the mic or can you hold it? Thank you.
I'm incredibly disappointed in you guys for having such crappy hearing devices for this place. I cannot believe that you're conducting business with no microphones, one, and that works like hell. No, this is really ridiculous. The amount of money you guys spend on everything else, you need to start paying attention to your audio video. And that's, you know how I feel about that.
Do you think the microphone work? Like, can you hear me when I talk?
It pops and carries on. It's a dummy thing. And I don't understand why the county has such crummy equipment.
Is it the one with the library? Are these library ones?
Yes. Everything that we're working with is library equipment. Except for
Is the library, is it the it's the library foundation, right? So it's not technically with the.
Yeah, this is the county.
It is not,
Yeah,
it's not a town property.
They're allowing us to be.
No, what they can do is buy Bluetooth speakers
No,
and speak into them.
Oh, we have to get approval to spend that money on this.
Laura, in the back.
There's other ways, and you just don't do it. 'cause they're-
Laura, in the back. Can you hear me?
About audio in this room, I asked if we could have multiple microphones, if we could purchase our own and bring them and connect them, and they said we can't, that's the only microphone we can connect.
Yeah.
So we tried our best, and this is just a little bit harder.
Thank you, Laura. I didn't know.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing that. Good job. All right, let's see. All right, let's move this along. Let's move this along. Any other comments from the public? Seeing none, let's move on to comments from the council. Vice President, Councilmember Nerd. Councilmember Nichols.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
I can finish this one.
Steve.
Yeah, pass it.
Okay. I'm gonna actually utilize all of your time. Do you want to talk about LGEM?
If they wanted to do it, they use all this.
Next to end on a good note, I wanted to just share that the town of Berlin was awarded $554,211 in local government energy modernization funding. The program is going to cover $50,000 for LED upgrades to the wastewater treatment plant lights, and then $504,000 for 2 rooftop, but one might not be on the roof, it'll probably be out in the grass at the wastewater treatment plant, solar arrays on Town Hall and the wastewater treatment plant, and the LGEM funding supports local governments to engage in sustainable, long-term clean energy and energy efficient projects that lead to reduced energy usage and greenhouse gas emissions, increased cost savings, and robust clean energy and economic development.
Good job, Sarah.
Thank you. Nice job.
Sarah, Natalie, Tim, I think you all worked on that project. Thank you, Jack. You want to do a round of applause?
All right, thank you. The other thing is it should make town hall hopefully net zero, so it will lower our utility bills. All right, the If I Were Mayor essay contest, we had a winner. We did a district winner out of 891 essays. We had a fourth grader from Worcester Prep, 5th year in a row, win the District 1 competition, was recognized in the Governor's Bill signing room in Annapolis. We'll be coming here in June. Yep, to read the essay and to help open a mayor and council meeting. It was kind of interesting because you had to look 90 years into the future because MML turned 90 this year, and he talked about like traditions in Berlin, and one of them was the Berlin Christmas parade, and how in 90 years they might have floats that float. So I thought it was pretty good. Changing, I'll get through this quickly. Budget meetings, they're underway with staff, and Councilmember Councilmember Green and Orris attended the general fund budget meetings. Councilmember Nur and Orris attended the utility fund meetings. Overall, they're going well. I want to thank staff, particularly the finance department and all the department heads, for working on the compilation. We'll have our first budget work session next Monday here in this room. Right? Or are we doing police station or here? It's here? Okay.
Well, I think it's at the police station.
It's at the police station, right? Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
it's open to public.
Yep.
Faithful station.
Open to the public, but the work session will be held at the police department. I also want to note that the town of Berlin received a recognition for the Recovery Works program. I want to thank Jimmy Charles, Kelsey Jensen, Mary, Natalie, Sarah, everybody for all your help with that project. We've had one person go through, and we have two more coming through.
Yeah.
So we were recognized for that, starting that program and the success. So that's a huge win for Berlin. All right, let's see. Any comments from the press? Nothing. All right. I have a motion by Vice President Burrell, a second by Councilmember Nichols. All in favor say aye. All opposed? Let the record reflect the vote unanimous.